Hello,
Hello.
here we are again.
Still figuring out how to talk with a slight lag between us.
Yes, there is, but that could just be us too. But anyway, I'm Gary Lambert, and over on the other side of me is David Gans. I never know which way to point when you're on screen. Oh, I'm pointing the right way. There's David Gans. And we usually don't have to do this visual thing because we usually host a radio show on SiriusXM radio called Tales from the Golden Road every Sunday afternoon. But now you've got the visual aspect of us as well, since we're now hosting this thing during the duration of this tour called Dead Air with Lambert and Gans.
That's right. Yeah, we've been recruited to provide some between sets entertainment for you, and we've lined up a bunch of really interesting people to spend that time with. Today we're going to talk with Mikaela Davis, the lovely, wonderful young harpist that has been playing with Weir and has been playing under her own steam quite a bit lately and doing a lot of Grateful Dead music beautifully. So we're looking forward to meeting her during the set break. Right now, we're trying to ramp up more interest in this spectacularly wonderful tour that's underway now. We got like 5 shows in the can so far. It's been amazing.
That's right. This is number 6. Of course, the last one was one for the books. I'm sure everyone is still buzzing about the other night in Bethel, New York, the old Woodstock site, where, what should we say, the band redeemed the Grateful Dead's Woodstock set?
That's the story that Bob told before they revisited the set list that they played by accident the first time and did it intentionally this time, and didn't have any electrical balls knocking people off the stage. They didn't have the stage being sailing away on a sea of mud. They didn't have any of those things. They just had a happy crowd, decent weather, and amazingly good sound. And boy, was it fun to hear those songs being played again. And it doesn't matter to me what order they were played in. I'm just thrilled with how they are playing these days.
That's right. Perhaps redeemed isn't as good a word as exercised, the Woodstock set.
Yes.
The Grateful Dead have always...
No, everything they've done, I've been extracting little bits of this to play on my other radio show, and I've got a bigger pile of highlights than I will ever have time to play on the air. They just keep everything they're doing. They keep finding new places to open these songs up and do fun things with. My wife observed the jam at the beginning of the show the other day and was really, really interested in what it was, and I wasn't sure what it was going to be either until it turned into Hell in a Bucket. It's that kind of thing. And there was a wonderful, very interesting and sweet little intro to what turned out to be Jack Straw the other day. It's just little gifts like that, all scattered throughout the music, that are making me so happy.
Yeah, that's become a characteristic of especially beginnings of sets by Dead & Company, is there will be a little prelude that suggests the song they're going to start with, but doesn't give too much away. And sometimes there'll be a key change before they go into the song. They did that with Hell in a Bucket, for example. And it keeps everybody on their toes, and it keeps the audience guessing. And that's one of the fun aspects of this music, is no 2 shows are the same, and no 2 songs are ever played the same way twice. So.
And you mentioned the key change thing. I noticed one of those the other night. And was it the transition? Was it Terrapin into the other one? There was an amazing jam coming out of Terrapin, and we got way up into this other one space, but they had to change key to get into the other one key. So it's very interesting. And I think that I don't want to get too deep into the musical weeds here, but that sort of thing is how musicians keep each other challenged. You try to play the same old song, try a different approach to it in a different key or something like that. So you find new ways to explore that space. And that's what these guys have been doing. John Mayer, I don't know, he's using his whammy bar a little more this time, and I guess he's got a new guitar. I don't really geek out on that stuff, but I love the sound that he's making, and I love the way all these people are interacting, particularly Jeff Chimenti and John Mayer. The dialogue between them is a thing of beauty.
Yeah, one thing I'm also noticing, as has been the case with Dead and Company from the start, you're hearing the different layers of the Grateful Dead histories of these songs and the way they play them. Jeff Chimenti was referencing both the Pigpen organ part and some of TC's stuff on Dark Star, and then you were, of course, getting everyone's contemporary approach to it as well. So it's a fabulous kind of unstuck in time feeling, and they just get better and better at it with each passing show.
So if you're watching the free preview on YouTube, you should know that if you enjoy what you hear, and I don't mean the conversation you're hearing now, but the music that's about to start. If you like that, you can go to livedead.co and sign up to buy the entire show. And if you dawdle and you don't make up your mind until you get the free sample of the second set, if you buy the second set, you can still go back and watch the first set later, because I think you have like 48 hours to enjoy the live streams with what you pay for them. And there are other options as well at livedead.co. There are audio download options, and there are season passes for all of the live streams on the Dead and Company tour. There are 18 shows on this first leg, so we're about a third of the way. Tonight will be a third of the way through the first leg of it, and then they're going to go on, resuming in early October or mid-September, and go through to the end of the month. So there's tons more music to come, so you might want to look into that season pass thing. I'm a fairly critical listener, and I don't think I could be much happier with what I'm hearing than what these guys are throwing down.
Yeah, and this is kind of like being on tour without the wear and tear. We are seeing every show along with you, and it's really enjoyable because you get that sensation you get from tour of, hearing them pick up on what they left off with the previous night or the previous couple of nights before. And that's always been a great and fascinating aspect of this music, how the set lists are laid out, how they figure out a way not to duplicate too much. And when they do come back around to a song, as they've started doing, I think Bethel had maybe one or two songs from the first night of the tour. They may take it in a different direction. They may change up the tempo, or the solos may have a different quality to them, because leaving songs out over a period of about 4 nights, it kind of freshens the approach to them. So we may be hearing some things tonight that we've already heard on the tour, but chances are they won't sound that much the same.
So many new things are going on, and O'Teal took a bass solo the other night. We're getting a signal that the band is all on stage, so house lights are going to go down momentarily. So if we stop in mid-sentence, it's a good thing.
That's right. Yes, O'Teal took a bass solo, and the final set list said drums, bass, space. So it was acknowledged as a freestanding piece of music, and boy, it was wonderful. Just so free and beautiful. And we could be talking about this stuff endlessly, but you're about to get a sample of the real thing as soon as those house lights go down. Any second now, we're told.
And again, if you're watching the free preview on YouTube, you can convert that into a paid visit to the entire show by visiting livedead.co or nugs.net. And there are other things they want you to know about as well, like, for example, a new SiriusXM Platinum package that includes access to the nugs.net or selections from the vast library of nugs.net music. And there are nugs.net streaming subscriptions available as well that give you access to, for example, all the Dead and Company shows going back to 2016, plus Jerry Garcia Band, Bruce Springsteen, stuff like that.
These guys.
So visit nugs.net and find out what the options are. And Wilco, yes, Gary's other favorite band.
That's right. So we're just waiting for the word. When the whole band is on stage, they usually do a little huddle, a little just chatter and pep talk to one another, and then the house lights go down. So it could be a longer than usual pep talk. We don't know, but we are told they are all on stage, so it shouldn't be long.
That's right. And while we've got a minute, I should thank Jacob Lima, who's the person that is putting us on the air with you and is seeing to it that the stream goes out. He's got a very, very big and busy job, and he's just been a pleasure for us to work with here. There's a lot of things that change, and we're waiting for a signal from elsewhere about when the band is going. Lights are going down. We'll talk later. Enjoy the show, everybody. We'll see you at halftime with Mikaela Davis. Another
Hi.
fabulous set. Whew.
Yeah, short but sweet.
Uh-oh.
Shortest of the run thus far, but very, very tight and more song oriented than sweet oriented. Not a lot of gazintas, some space between songs, but a lot of choice material there, starting with Viola Blues. And David, why don't you run down the rest of the set?
Well, they started with Viola Blues, a fairly short version of that compared to the epic versions of history. Cold Rain and Snow, Feel Like a Stranger, Ship of Fools, Friend of the Devil, Loose Lucy, and New Speedway Boogie. But more importantly, what's the deal with the headphones? We're going to have to try to find out why John Mayer wore headphones. Do we have
Yes.
any speculation, Gary?
No, there's been a lot of online chatter about that, as you would imagine. Um, uh, you know, it could be something as simple as a technical issue. Maybe his in-ear monitors had a malfunction, or maybe he was listening to Sob Rock, his fabulous new album on Columbia Records. John didn't pay me to say that, by the way. But anyway, we've got our crack dead air investigative team on it, and if we get any information about that, we'll let you know before the break over. But what we're going to do for a good part of this break is talking to a wonderful person, and I think we should bring her on, don't you, David?
I do. Let's welcome Mikaela Davis to the mix here. The Between Set Schmooze. Hello, Mikaela Davis. Where are you?
Hey, how are you? I am in the Catskills in New York.
Lovely.
Welcome
Well,
to our
it's very
schmooze.
very appropriate that the band is cutting a swath through upstate New York as we speak. They were at the old Woodstock site in Bethel the other night. They are near Buffalo tonight. They will be at SPAC, Saratoga. So great to have you here right in the backyard of where all this music is taking place.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. And it's actually fitting that they are playing at Darien Lake tonight because I am born and raised in Rochester, New York, which is just hop, skip, and a jump from Darien Lake.
Yeah, fantastic. And yeah, you are part of the upstate musical community, which is thriving. A lot of Grateful Dead activity over the years upstate. And we want to get a little of your musical history. For those of you who are meeting Mikaela for the first time, wonderful musician, harpist, which is unusual in our scene, singer, songwriter, leader of a wonderful band called Mikaela Davis and Southern Star, and has found her way into the Grateful Dead world, has collaborated with Bob Weir and other friends of the family. So, Mikaela, let's talk a little about your origins. First of all, how did harp become your instrument of choice?
Well, I actually started playing the harp because they offered it at my public school in Rochester, which is also pretty unusual. Usually you get to choose between a string instrument, if you're lucky, or a brass, a horn, or a wind instrument. But my public school in Rochester, Penfield, has an incredible music program. And at the end of second grade, the music teacher who just retired, Cynthia Andrews, she started me on the harp. So she showed all the kids the instruments you could take the following year if you want to take a string instrument. And I thought I was going to choose the cello, I can remember. But she brought out the harp last. I was in second grade at the time, so I was about, I guess I had just turned 8. And yeah, after she brought out the harp, I was just floored by the instrument. I thought it was the coolest thing I've ever seen. And my mom said I came home from school that day and just didn't even ask her. I guess I just told her I'm going to play the harp. And luckily, my parents were supportive and let me play the harp.
What a lovely thing. And to get a good music education in public schools at your age is very cool. When I was a kid, that was more the norm. It's harder to find arts education in public schools these days. So that's a real win for you. Were you classically trained too? Or, how did you come around into what you're doing now with the writing your original songs and playing Grateful Dead music?
Yeah, so it's been a pretty long journey, I guess. I started when I was 8, and yes, I was classically trained. So the first year I played the harp, I was just taking lessons at school, and then I started private lessons with Grace Wong, who was the principal harpist of the Rochester Philharmonic Orchestra. And so, yeah, I got pretty serious about the harp. I started piano at the same time, too. I forgot to mention, but I ended up dropping piano to focus on harp in middle school or something. And yeah, in high school, I was in like the Rochester Philharmonic Youth Orchestra, and I decided I wanted to go to school. So I went to Crane School of Music, which is part of SUNY Potsdam in the state of New York, and studied harp performance there. But while I was at school, I was also touring with my band on breaks. I started writing music when I was in 6th grade in middle school and continued writing from there on out. And it was just a fun thing for me. I imagined myself becoming a harp professor or having my own lesson studio or something like that. But when I was in college, an agency reached out to me and wanted to book me. So I thought, oh, okay, maybe this isn't just a fantasy. Maybe I could do this. And I discovered that it's actually pretty cool to play an instrument in a rock band that's not normally in a rock band. And you know, it's kind of a shot in the dark to get a job at an orchestra or win a huge harp competition, things like that, because I mean, there's plenty of amazing harpists that are playing classical music. But I found that there weren't as many harpists doing what I was doing, which was songwriting. And I mean, of course, Joanna Newsom, and there's others. But yeah, I just found myself in this niche, and then randomly got the call from Matt Bush to sit in with the Wolf Brothers, which was, I think, in 2018. So how that came about was, I don't know if you'd say it's like a happy, not really an accident. It's kind of like lightning strikes. And it was just a friend of ours, John Topper, who's in the Buffalo area. He happened to,
Lovely
yeah,
guy.
all right, you know him. So he happened upon a video of my band playing Down by the River, covering a Neil Young song. And the Wolf Brothers were touring, and they were having special guests come in here and there. And so John sent that cover of us to Matt, and then Matt sent it to the band, Bob, Jay, and Don, and they thought it was cool, so they invited me to sit in with them in Syracuse. I will never forget the day I got the phone call. I think I literally screamed. I scared my mom. I was visiting her.
I can imagine. What a great thing. And they came to you? They came to you. How cool is that?
Yeah. And you know, I remember at that time I was feeling pretty down and out. I was feeling pretty lost because my management and my agency had just dropped me, and I was just like, dang, what am I doing? What do I do? Is this my path in life? You know, I was just questioning everything. And yeah, so I got the call, and it all flew out the window. I was like, yes, this is going to be great. And actually, my guitar player, Kian, helped me learn all of the tunes because he's been a DeadHead since he was born, pretty much. So, and, you know, that started me on improvising, really. I've been wanting to improvise for a long time. I had wanted to learn more about jazz on the harp because the harp is not a chromatic instrument. So improvising is a little different than on the piano. And yeah, so Bob and the gang kind of helped push me into improvising on the harp. And I know I'm working on it still because I'm a classically trained musician and, you know, we're used to just reading what's on the page. But I love just reading what's in my mind better. It's more fun.
Yeah, I was going to say that, you know, for other musicians on more conventional rock or jazz instruments, you know, there are role models. You know, guitar players can emulate anyone from Jimi Hendrix to Pat Metheny, you know, or bassists have Phil Lesh, they have Jaco Pastorius. For a harpist, there's really not much of a template in this music, you know, so you really have to find your own path. Did you have, I mean, you did mention Joanna Newsom. Were there other harp role models that you've had in terms of improvised music?
Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, Dorothy Ashby is like the first jazz harpist, if you're familiar with her. And of course, Alice Coltrane. She started off as a pianist and then later learned harp. And, you know, Brandy Younger is an incredible jazz harpist that's on the scene right now. She does a lot of, she plays a lot of Alice Coltrane and Dorothy Ashby as well. But she actually just put out an album, I'm fairly certain, so everyone should go check that out. And yeah, there's a lot of good jazz harpists. Oh, another friend of mine, her name is Tara Minton. She's out in LA, or sorry, not LA, in London, a different L name. She's an incredible jazz harpist. Yeah, it's becoming more of a thing. So I think that's super cool. I think more harpists should try to think outside the box and look at other genres than just classical music.
Well, I have played with another harpist, a woman named Anella Lauren, who I met a few years ago, and she did a record called Harping on the Dead. And I have to say, jamming with a harp is such a sweet thing. There's something about the way, the arpeggiated nature of the harp that it interlocks beautifully. It's just, you know, with the sweeter side of this kind of music. It's such a lovely sound.
Yeah, you know, now that you mention that, I have heard that album. She does some Grateful Dead arrangements, right?
Mm-hmm.
Really
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, really good stuff.
Tell us about your music and your band. I'm sorry, Gary, go ahead.
No, please. That was the question I was going to ask.
Well, my band, we've been playing together for a little while. Me and my drummer have been playing together for over 10 years, and I put out some albums right after graduating from high school that I have since taken off the internet, but I think one of them is still on Bandcamp. Secrets on there. And we recorded an album in Nashville years ago that got shelved, and then I signed with Rounder, and they wanted me to write more and re-record, so I put out an album with them in 2018 that's called Delivery, which was produced and recorded by John Congleton, and that was really fun. That was just me, Alex, and Shane, my bass player. But now we have one song out that is the full band as we are now in this current moment. And there's 5 of us. It's me, Alex Cote on drums, Kian McCarthy on guitar, Kurt Johnson on pedal steel and guitar and lap steel, and then Shane McCarthy on bass. Yeah, we put out a song called Don't Stop Now this year, and we made a fun music video for it that'll be coming out sometime in the near future. But yeah, I think after playing with Bob, it really changed our sound as a band. I mean, I started improvising, so we started really developing more and having more jams in songs and stretching things out and just coming up with ideas that I probably wouldn't have come up with before. So
and your bandmates are amenable to it as well?
sorry, my bandmates are.
They're open to it as well. They like to jam too. Because it's a
Oh
different kind of
yeah.
music making for a lot of people, It's like, as Jay Blakesberg once said, you either have that strand of DNA or you don't. That conversational music thing. For the people that like it, it's great. But so it's good you found people that'll do it with you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, they've been doing this sort of thing for longer than I. Alex and Kian went to Purchase for jazz studies, and yeah, Shane is Kian's little brother, so he's just been playing music with Kian since he was a wee lad. And Kurt obviously has also been doing the same thing. But even before I played with Bob, they covered the Grateful Dead's first album, their self-titled, in Rochester. I remember going to the show and thinking, man, this is so good. And after I did the Tiny Desk with the Wolf Brothers, we decided, well, heck, we should cover an entire album. And we played Live Dead. We did an entire tour, actually, where it was just an evening with Mikaela Davis and Southern Star, and we played. Our first set was our music as a band, music we wrote, and we all write for the band. I co-write with my band members, or I'll play songs that they wrote, and so on. And then our second set was Live Dead. We played Live Dead in its entirety from front to back, and we all sang different songs, and it was really a blast. After doing that, I think that was the nail in the coffin. I was like, yes, this is what I want to do, play more music like this.
Oh, great. What a great story. I should interrupt and tell everybody that we're offering a free preview on nugs.net for the second set of Dead and Company live from Darien Lake. And if you're enjoying this, stay tuned for the first song of the second set. And if you like it and you want to buy the broadcast, you can go back and listen to the first set later. You have like 48 hours to go through all this stuff. And that's why they're offering the free preview. They did the same with set one here on nugs.net. You can buy just this one show. You can subscribe to the entire tour. There are audio downloads of the entire tour available, and individual in various formats and stuff. So please visit livedead.co and find out what all your options are for buying tonight's show, buying the tour, having access to the immense nugs.net library. If you subscribe to nugs.net, you'll have access to every Dead and Company show that's been played since they started in 2016, and more. And now back to our set break schmooze.
Right. And what we're doing, by the way, for those who may be unfamiliar with this, who are used to seeing a slide that says, please stand by, we're trying to do something more entertaining by doing this little halftime show. And tonight we're delighted to have Mikaela Davis with us, harpist, singer, songwriter, leader of Southern Star, and a real favorite of mine. We've talked a lot, David and I, on our radio show, we talked a lot about how inspiring it is that a new generation of musicians has picked up on Grateful Dead music and aren't just copying it, but bringing their own perspectives to it. And you're one of my favorite exponents of that, Mikaela. I've been really loving what you've been doing with the Dead's music. But you cover a lot of great music. In addition to your wonderful original material, I love that you cover stuff like Elliott Smith and the Kinks, and these guys, Wilco. You bring something really special to it, and Beatles freaks out there, and David and I take a backseat to no one on that. Love what you've done with Beatles songs. Your cover of The Inner Light is just stunning, and Paul McCartney's Every Night is just beautiful. So I urge people who are unfamiliar with Mikaela to go to her YouTube channel, where a lot of her performances are, live performances, or some of the pandemic things she's been doing while cooped up at home over the past year. Some really wonderful stuff. And getting into live performance and improvisation, I also wanted to mention this summer you had two really amazing opportunities to improvise really from scratch with some world-class improvisers, Christian McBride, Joe Russo, Marco Benevento. And then at Newport, those guys, you played the Newport Jazz Festival. That alone must have been stunning in itself. Those three guys plus John Scofield. So let's talk a little about that experience.
Oh man, I'm like sweating just hearing that again. Um, thank you, Gary. And yeah, I noticed your Wilco shirt right away. I wanted to tell you I liked it. Um, yeah, so how that came about was the Mockingbird Foundation did a live stream of a couple different bands over at Leave on Home Studios, and my band was maybe going to play a set there, but then that ended up not happening. But the Mockingbird Foundation said, well, hey, you should come sit in with a band. And I saw that Marco and Joe were playing. And I know Marco. I've toured with him years ago, we're buddies. So immediately, obviously, I said, yes, I want to play with Marco and Joe if they're into it. So the day before it happened, they said, yeah, sure. You can go do the set with them. It's just going to be 40 minutes of improvised music, and Christian McBride's going to be there too. And so I got really nervous. But it was so fun. And Christian is just such a sweet guy, as are Marco and Joe, of course. I hadn't met Joe before, so it was so great to finally meet him. And, you know, the chemistry the three of them have on stage is incredible. I couldn't believe that Christian hadn't played with them before. So I was just trying to fill in the little details. And then I guess a month or two later, I got a message from Christian just saying, hey, you want to come to Newport Jazz Festival? And yeah, I was actually supposed to play a show at the barn. They were doing a dead set on Jerry's birthday on August 1st, and Graham Lesh was also sitting in. So I was pretty bummed to not be able to do that. But, you know, I'm sure I'll see Graham along the way somewhere else. So I went to Newport, and I sat in with Brandy Younger's trio. And yeah, I was so scared because, you know, I'm not primarily a jazz harpist, and I'm really still honing in my craft, learning how to improvise. I really need to dig into those jazz standards a little more, but I suggested a Dorothy Ashby song because I love Dorothy Ashby, a song called Action Line. And it's just like simple blues progression. But of course on the harp has 7 pedals. So I had to be changing the pedals to get like the flat 2 and the flat 7 and this and that. So I was practicing a lot for it. And yeah, it was so fun. And then the set with Christian and Marco and Joe and John Schofield, oh my God, that was also all improvised. But John was kind of leading us into some songs that we ended up going through, like Hey Joe, the chord progressions of that. And so it wasn't all, I mean, it was all improvised, but there were a couple places where I realized, oh, okay, we're playing this tune now. Okay, we're kind of playing this tune. But it was an incredible experience, and yeah, I'm just so thankful for Christian having me and everyone else. It's really great.
Wonderful. So we have a few more minutes with Mikaela. We are always doing these things while awaiting a word as to what the band's whims are about when to get back on stage. So we're happy to have the time with you, Mikaela. I want to talk about future plans because people are now tentatively, gradually getting back into touring, and you've got some stuff coming up. You're going to be touring with the Gypsy Kings, I believe. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we're touring with Gypsy Kings in the fall. We'll start with them at the Beacon Theater and then make our way over to Chicago and then out west to LA and then down south, some Texas and Florida. I really hope the tour happens because I just can't wait to get back out there on the road. We've been playing some weekend shows here and there on the East Coast, which has been really fun. But I miss going out west and up north a little more, this and that. And I love being with the band. My drummer is actually about to have a baby, so he won't be with us, but it'll be the 4 other players, me, Kurt, Kian, and Shane, doing a more acoustic set.
Wonderful.
Other plans? Where can
David?
people find you online and all that kind of thing?
Oh, right. My website is mikaeladavis.com, and I have all the social media platforms, probably just at Mikaela Davis, most likely.
Yeah. I noticed, speaking of incredible harp role models, you paid tribute on Instagram to a woman named Sheila Bromberg. I think did I get her name right? Who was the harpist on the Beatles' "She's Leaving Home," she just passed away. One of maybe the most famous or most widely heard harp part on any popular record ever.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I've always wondered if that's the first time delay has been added to harp. I'm not certain about that, but I feel like possibly that was the first time in effect, like that was added to harp. I'll have to check that out. But yeah, hearing that was cool as a kid, because it made me realize that harp can be placed in a rock band.
Yeah.
And I mean, that song, of course, was just strings and harp and Paul singing, so it wasn't really full band. But I mean, what a gorgeous piece. And Sheila had such a great career. She played with a lot of different people. So yeah, she will be missed.
Yeah, and if you go to Mikaela's Instagram or Facebook, she actually points to, there's an interview with Sheila Bromberg where she talks about that session and how Paul was sort of vaguely articulating what he wanted, and they tried different takes, and then how it was accomplished through the magic of George Martin and those incredible technicians at Abbey Road is quite fascinating. So if you're a Beatlemaniac, and I think everyone out there is raising their hands, it's really worth checking out. I was really happy that you alerted people to Sheila Bromberg, because it's a wonderful story.
Yeah, absolutely. And oh, go ahead, Dave.
No, you.
I was just going to say, I think it's so funny that after all the hours they spent at the studio, they were there from like 9 p.m. to midnight, she said. When she heard the track, she realized they ended up using the first take, which is pretty funny.
That has happened.
Yeah, I was going to say, the more you try to record a take over and over and over again, I think the feeling kind of gets sucked out of it. So sometimes the take you end up choosing is one of the first 3, something like that. So, just don't overthink it.
That's valid. I've also found that very often the second to last take is the one that you keep. You realize that it ain't going to get any better than that one. We should quickly mention again, because this is the nugs.net feed, and it's a free sample of the second set of tonight's Dead and Company show. These video streams are available in 4K as well as regular HD. And for those of you who have that hardware, I do not, but I've heard from friends that the quality of that feed is amazing. So if you have that and you want to see this in 4K, that is now available as of this tour. And again, nugs.net and livedead.co are sites you can visit to find out more about your options with nugs.net and with the Dead and Company tour. I've been collecting the audio files of all these things for years and years and years, and it's really fun to be able to watch the live streams as they go. Of course, I'm working this whole tour, so I get to watch them all anyway. But that's why we're here. They're giving away a free sample before each set. You're going to get the first song of tonight's second set as part of this program that you're looking at right now. And then if you like it and you want to buy the thing, you go over to livedead.co and you sign up there, and you'll see all the other options, the way these things can be delivered to you. There's subscriptions to nugs.net. There's a SiriusXM tie-in that you could look at as well. And now back to our conversation about music.
Right. Mikaela, one thing I wanted to ask, you also have, I think, a relationship that's gone on for a while, and you played recently with another of my favorite bands, Lake Street Dive.
Yes. Oh, I love Lake Street Dive so much. We have toured with them twice, and they are just the best people ever, some of the best. And, one of the best live shows I've ever seen, along with Wilco, is also one of the best live shows I've ever seen. But I haven't played with them yet. So, who knows? I don't know. I love Wilco so much.
We've got people who can make that happen, Mikaela. We'll talk.
But anyway, yeah, playing with Lake Street Dive, I mean, they treated us like family, and they also have a new album that came out recently. Yeah, we also played a show with them, a one-off show with them the other month. It was Mick Duck's last show with the band, their guitar player, who also plays trumpet.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Mikaela. Well, I have to interrupt you because the band is back on stage, and it's time for us to hand it back over to the live music people. Mikaela Davis, it's been wonderful to meet you and to hear your story. And I wish you nothing but more success. It sounds like you're on a really, really wonderful path. Go get them.
Thank you so much, Gary and David. Thanks for having me.
Thanks,
Enjoy
Mikaela.
the show.
Hi.
All right. Now the band is back on stage. Hey, folks, I have if we can get this in time, I have an answer to the headphone mystery texted to me directly by Mr. John Mayer. Everyone's been texting me about the headphones. It's a hearing loss prevention thing. I've had enough of my ears ringing after every show and hate that I'm getting the beginnings of the stuff that doesn't ever go away. The in-ears are a few inventions away from feeling like headphones, which have been in service for decades. And he says he's actually hearing the other guys better too. So I don't know if this is going to be a permanent solution for the tour, but better that John's protecting his hearing and hearing the band better. And thanks for the answer, John. I told you we had our best people on it. Our best people turned out to be the man himself.
That's pretty great, man. Glad you got the info. All right. Well, now we're just vamping again until we get the signal that the house lights have gone down. Reminding everybody that if you're already paid up, then enjoy the show. But if you're watching this free sample, remember that you can go to livedead.co to convert it into a paid thing and watch the rest of it. And also, if you do buy it now, you can go back and watch the first set later. You have, I think, 48 hours to watch the whole thing as many times as you want to before it expires. And of course, you can subscribe to the whole season as well. And there's audio-only formats and all that kind of stuff too. Nugs.net and or livedead.co for more information on all of that and other Nugs.net stuff.
Right. And the band seems to be in its little huddle right now. When we get the word that says house lights, that's when we know that we can throw it back to them. In the meantime, we've been enjoying doing this so much. Mikaela Davis, yet another fabulous guest. I really urge you to check out her music, not just the Grateful Dead stuff she's covered, but the wide range of original material and her band's impeccable choice of covers. Wonderful, wonderful stuff. So that was a real treat. And we've got more great guests coming up. We're booking them on the fly.
Exactly. We don't know who we're getting on Friday, but we have a lot of fun stuff lined up for you. It's really been, and it's a nice format too, like a half hour to talk with one person. You know, we do the phone-in show, which has a lot of short interviews and stuff, and it's kind of more choppy. This is an interesting new thing to go in a little deeper with these musicians. And we may be talking to some non-musicians as well in the near future. other people that are interested. We'll just talk to some other fans of the music. They don't all have to be musicians, do they?
No, we're doing a wide range of the Grateful Dead universe. You know, we've already had two wonderful journalist authors, Blair Jackson and Regan McMahon. Of course, we had Don Was on opening night, who couldn't have been a better guest. We had Cameron Sears talking about the Rex Foundation and house lights. See ya.
That's it. We're done. See you tomorrow. I mean, the next day.